congenital heart disease. I'm going to ask you just to be quiet for a little bit because this is sort of important part of the evening for me, and I think for the American Heart Association and for everyone here. So Colby, I'm just going to repeat that. Colby was one of 40,000 babies born each year with congenital heart disease. He has back-to-back open heart surgeries at the age of 8 and 9, and Colby's father, Darryl, is a winemaker. At age 11, he asked his father if they could make wine together and donate the proceeds to heart research in hopes that no kid would have to go through what he went through. In order to continue supporting initiatives, education, and research of the American Heart Association, we're going to ask you to stand up for your heart. But before we do that, I'm going to invite Colby up on stage to come and say a few words. So please give Colby a big round of applause.
Good evening, everyone. As was just said, my name is Colby Groom, and I'm really happy to be here tonight for a lot of reasons, but one of them specifically is for all the kids that would give anything to be here tonight, but instead are stuck in different hospital rooms across the country that are missing out on their childhood as they sit in there. And through my story, I can tell you I have had a lot of hardship, but I'm one of the lucky ones. So I was born to two amazing Australian winemaking parents who, I can see my dad smiling up in the corner as he films. Everyone wave to Darryl, he's great. And not only was I born to those two amazing parents, I was also born with what's called an aortic bicuspid valve. And most of the time, especially when I was born, the doctor said, don't worry, this isn't anything to worry about. Most people who have this last until they're in their 30s or even 40s before they need any intervention. But as you'll learn throughout my story, my heart had a little bit of a different plan, as it tends to do. And by the time I was 8, my cardiologist could see my heart was collapsing a lot faster than most. So when I was in 2nd grade, 8-year-old me was sent to the hospital for my first open heart surgery. And it's a hard thing to go through then, and extremely lonely, but there's a lot of uplift there too. And I remember being in the hospital and shouting at one of the male nurses who was taking a stitch out of me. And I remember it echoing through the entire hospital hallway, he's trying to kill me. And I laugh now, I mean, it's a funny story, but I can only picture how many kids go through similar things like that. And so I made it out of my first surgery when they repaired the valve. And I went back to school more excited than anything else. I had a new cool scar, I had the support of my family, and I had good friends, and I was ready to be back reunited with them. But as I said earlier, my heart tends to have a lot of different plans. And so by the time, about 10 months later, a week after my 9th birthday, I was told that my first surgery had failed, the valve repair had gone badly, and that within the week I would need to go back for a second open heart surgery. And the first surgeries are always hard, as I said, but understanding what you go through and understanding what you've been through makes it even harder. So the night my parents were telling me that, I was walking out of the bathroom past their bed and they sat me down and told me. And immediately I can only picture what they went through as they saw the color drain out of my face. And their little 9-year-old son just ran away. I went and hid behind the couch, and I can only picture the pain and my family that they had to go through that. And I can only picture the pain for so many parents who, it's not the second surgery, but the third, the fourth. And when I think of this, I think of little Liam, who I haven't been blessed enough to meet yet. And I picture his parents who had him and held him in their hands, and everyone here who's a parent can know the pure love that you have for a child when you hold them in their hands for your first time. I can only picture that love grew when they saw him wheeled off for his first surgery within the first week of his life. And I can only picture that love grew more and more as within the first 2 months of his life, that little counterpuncher, the boy who gives me confidence because he was 2 months old and went through heart surgery after heart surgery after heart surgery. And little Liam, he didn't last past his first birthday. And that wrenches my heart, and I can only picture how much more his parents must have loved him each moment they hold him. And I can only picture the parents across the country who have the same thing. And I was lucky, after my second surgery, they replaced my aortic valve with a nice little ticker, you can hear it. And I came back and I was happy to be out of surgery, but I was behind too. I was behind my friends academically. I'd missed so much school for 2 open heart surgeries. I was behind my friends physically. I had heart problems. I couldn't play the same sports. I couldn't do a lot of the same things my friends did. But really, as I grew up and started to be in that rut that I was so far behind, my parents taught me one of the most important things, and that's giving back. And so when I was young and still understanding everything I'd been through and everything I went through, they had me start doing Survivor videos and telling my story like I'm doing up here tonight. And from that, as my dad's a winemaker, I wanted to learn more about what he does because I saw this amazing man who was teaching me to give back so much. And I asked him, I want to learn a little bit more about what you do, and I want to learn a little bit more about winemaking. And so eventually, he shrugged me off at first. It was one of my harebrained ideas, like going to the Bermuda Triangle or getting a 3rd puppy. The first 2 worked, the 3rd one didn't. And eventually I kept going, and eventually he finally said yes, and we made a wine together. We did 2 barrels in our friend's basement with his kids who also wanted to learn about winemaking. And those first 2 barrels were great fun. I remember it very fondly. And I remember very fondly asking my dad the question, do you think this wine's going to be any good? To which he immediately replied, I've won Winemaker of the Year, 7 times? Of course it's going to be good. And then my next question, which started off the reason why I'm here tonight, was if the funds of the wine could go back to heart research. And immediately my dad and my mom became the biggest supporters of what became Colby Red, and together we were making 2 barrels of wine in our friend's basement to maybe raise $500. But as the wine industry does, people talk, and the story started spreading a bit of the father-son duo who were trying to raise money together, and soon it reached the ears of the Walgreens wine buyer and different wine buyers across the country. And they wanted the wine to be supportive and to help us out. So it went from a small 2-barrel operation to what today is a 20,000 case operation. And we're proud enough now, 6 years down the road from that first 2-barrel vintage in my friend's basement, we've raised $1 million for heart research, which is the most amazing thing ever. But that's not all. Through Colby Red, I've gotten to do a lot of other amazing things, like meet little Liam's parents. I've also gotten to walk through the ICU unit at different hospitals. On Valentine's Day at UC Davis, I gave out different little gifts to the kids that I saw in there. And it's painful every time because I'm so lucky that I get to be here all the time and I get to speak and help people, but they're missing out on their childhood as they go through not 2 surgeries like mine, but 5, 6, 7. And that reminds me why we're here tonight, to think about those children and to think about little Liam and think about all the families that must have lost children, which must be the most awful thing in the world. And I can only imagine what it's like for them. And so I'm really, really happy to be here tonight with everything Colby Red has been able to help me accomplish and help me grow. But I'm really happy to be here tonight for those children. And so I'm proud to be starting off the special appeal, and I'm giving $10,000 tonight because it's for those children that aren't as lucky as me to be here. And I encourage everyone, there's a point where your heart can meet your pocket to give. And it's extremely important because a lot of kids are in the hospital we can't help today, but we can feel sad and talk about. But the kids of tomorrow, we can help, and we can give the opportunity for the next generation's Liam to come tell his story, who must have had even more strength and confidence in the 2 months he lived than me. And I need to thank all of you for being here tonight and help supporting this cause, and I need to thank you all for digging deep into your pockets and giving what you can. So thank you all so much for tonight.
Thank you very much, Colby. Great speech.